Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, president of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training. My special guest today is an old friend of mine, a fellow Rotarian, Takeo Obayashi, who is the chairman of Obayashi Construction Company. Great to see you. We've not caught up for a while. Occasionally we see each other at Rotary. But we met at Osaka Rotary many years ago when I was based there, and we were both members of Osaka Rotary. So basically, you are in a family business, and I don't know how many generations of the family have been running the business, but it's been going for a very long time. How long has Obayashi Gumi been in business?
Actually, my great-grandfather founded Obayashi Gumi 131 years ago.
Right.
And so I am a fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
Yes, of Obayashi family. But it's a public company, so it's not really family company anymore. Yes.
So in that sense, growing up in the family business, and then probably you're going to be going into the business, that must be a bit tricky because, as you're growing up, this is where you're going to be working. Everybody who's in the company knows you're going to be working in the company. But often with Japanese companies like that, they send usually the sons to another company for a few years, or even another business for a few years to give them some other experiences. Did you have that case yourself?
Actually not. I joined Obayashi Corporations right after I graduated from the university in Tokyo,
right?
Takeo University, right. And then I started working for Obayashi.
Straight away, right.
But my father was wondering, what to do with after school career about me. And he thought maybe I should know more company people than spending years to learn something else in other companies.
Right.
So I joined the company, and actually I went to Stanford University 1 year after. But before and after, I had various opportunities to learn about our people and also our business in the different section.
Okay, so you had some rotation within the company.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So as someone who's in the family, in the business, it must be very hard when you're starting out to be leading people, because all the people working for you one day probably you're going to be the big boss. So it must be very hard to create realistic or authentic relationships, I guess, with people you're working with, compared to a company where you're not part of the family or the family history is not there. You're just the boss. But in your case, you're the boss who will one day be the big boss. So did you find that was rather difficult to create realistic, authentic relationships with people? People always very kioskeru, very careful with you, or how did that work?
Not really for me, but probably yes for other people.
For them. So in that case, for leading people, how did you create some type of close relationship or authentic relationship with people who are working for you? As you became promoted in the company, you started having people to lead yourself, maybe as a section head or something like that, I guess. How did you go about creating those authentic relationships with your team?
Well, I think, generally speaking, in Japan, not only my case, meeting people, especially in the company, to know each employee is very important for any leaders, for any people.
Yep.
So I was very lucky to just rotate many different sections in limited time. So I had chances to experience almost all sections, including the job site, construction job site. So, and moreover, I was very seriously lucky to have experience to learn construction management, outside of Japan. So, it's my case is very rare and lucky, of course. But I enjoy meeting, many employees, sometimes drinking and meetings. But think about I joined the company in 1977. So the situation has been changed dramatically. Yeah. And the company has, grown quite big. So it's very. We have to understand that both myself and also the other stakeholders should understand this. The society is different compared to 40 years ago.
What would you say were the biggest differences?
For example, like transparency, compliance, and even a relationship between the family members and other or company or employee is. I think that's been very changed, and even though I own some percentage of the whole stock, it's not really 50%, or it's
not controlling.
We're not really a public company, so only I would say 3 point something. So even though I'm top of the individual shareholders, I think I have to be very careful about my situation. Even though I am from the founding family, I think the balance is very important. And I think I'm trying to be cautious to that. Yeah.
So when you were on the way up, working your way up through the ranks in the company, and you started running teams, you had your own teams, did you find there are any particular things that worked well for you over the years to engage the team, get people really fired up about their work, really committed? Any things you did that made people feel really passionate about their work?
I can't really think about it.
Well, what things did you find worked well to get people behind you, committed to the vision of the company or the direction of the company or the direction of that section, the work they had to do? Anything you did with the teams in terms of communication or after hours or those sorts of things?
Well, again, it's this is the big difference between European American companies and Japanese companies, but always it's a organization, not individual. So we have to think about how the organization will work, rather than how myself will show my leadership or something. So especially in my position is I'm in a position to watch the right now to watch the company or board is doing well. So rather than to lead the company, to watch everything is all right.
I was thinking more, not so much now,
Okay,
but when you were coming up through the ranks, you had teams, you had different sections, you ran different sections, so you got people in those teams. What did you find worked well to get those people excited about their work, passionate about their work?
Well, I would say we have to admit their best points rather than pointing out something wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always tell our freshmen when they come, when they join the company, I said don't be afraid of your mistakes, and you can make mistake, but you cannot repeat the same mistake.
Right.
That's what I.
Well, that's a good point because, you allow people to learn by making mistakes because Japan is very much a no defect, no mistake business culture, and so making mistakes is taken very seriously in Japan, I think, compared to a lot of other countries. So often people are very afraid, to make a mistake and they really feel they're going to get scolded by the boss if they make a mistake. Right. I mean, we teach leadership training and we talk about handling mistakes. And sometimes the people in the class, particularly the guys, they tell their stories from when they were young and they made a mistake and their boss yelled at them in the office. Or one guy said a boss threw an ashtray at his head. He was so angry. I mean, that's a long time ago now.
Well, it
used to be like that, right? But this thing about how to handle mistakes is interesting. And so you took the view that it's a learning experience, but make the mistake once is okay.
Yeah. But, even that case, I think, things are changing compared to 20 years ago, as you said.
Yeah.
And I've watched many different characters, many different bosses. And what I learned from them was the people are different. So I'm probably different from others. So it's really important to know the people are different, and we have to talk to those people differently. And even though Japanese companies are based on organizations rather than an individual, but still individual run the company. So we have to understand that the person has each personality and character.
What about innovation? Because I know the construction industry is very technologically based and very advanced in many areas. It's amazing what people can do today, and there are probably sections within the company who are like R&D specialists on new methods and these types of things. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the average person. Like when you had people in your teams, what did you find worked well to get people to bring up their ideas inside the team?
Well, Japanese basically are good at engineering, science, technologies. But compared to 20 years ago, I think, more people in other countries are really creative and generating new technologies. And unfortunately, our technologies, I think, losing power.
Really?
Yeah. Well, for me, it looks like that. So probably we've been focusing on just the technology. So the good example is in Aichi area, there are so many great companies, including Toyota. They're really, really proud of their technologies. It's true. Still a leading company. There are many leading companies in the industry or in the company. But there are more creative companies in America or in Europe or in China, even though those are small companies. Why is that? I think it's because of education. We have tried to train the people to make a good presentation, to make a good point, good grades. But we never teach them to do something different from other people.
Right.
So I met the Mr. Osumi, the Nobel Prize winner. He is very much worried about the future of Japanese scientists.
Really?
Because they make a perfect reports. They're so good at taking a good points, good grades. But it's not really creative. So Dr. Osumi always said, do something different. don't try to become somebody who are respected, or them. So I think we need some kind of introduction, or we need to merge science, technology, and humanities or cultural aspect, or artistic aspect. So mixture of those things.
So what about inside the company? Have you found any ways inside the company to get not just the specialists, not just the specialist, I'm talking about the ordinary person, to be creative, to be thinking about how to improve things?
That's a very, very difficult point, and good point, and the difficult part of our engineering development, because our engineering is basically applied engineering, kind of mixture of the various technologies, and usually we spend a lot of money to develop technologies which can be applied on site, at the construction site. So has to be useful. So, but on the other hand, I have to encourage them to become creative. So probably we should really spend more money for those something creative, something new, sometimes not useless, but we don't really have time and budget for that. So I encourage them to just the broader their sight, and to look at, for example, artworks, to feel what's going on, in the field, what's popular in the music or art and culture, to make them very their view broader. I think they can do the both, very developing useful technologies on site, applied. We can use it for the construction, but also something different from other companies. It's very difficult to take a balance, but we need to do both.
Need to do both.
Yeah.
And what about building trust? In any time, any leader, you're running different sections of the company over the many years, and now you're the chairman. But in your experience, what things did you find worked well to build trust with teams in Japan?
You mean human trust?
Human trust, yeah. You as a leader, and they are your staff in your team. How did you build the trust with them?
I think to show them what we should do is the first one. So that means it's necessary, but also it's possible to do that. So by showing what to do is very important, because you cannot really force them that the boss cannot do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what other things did you found worked well for building trust with people?
Well, again, I always tell our people to do the communication is the best, the key. To do the good communication is the best key. So I, unfortunately, because of COVID, I didn't visit our branches, or especially international operations for 2.5 years. So I'm gonna start, traveling for other branches, and also the construction site, other ways, in other places, or U.S. companies, etc. I started doing that from this year. I visited like a London operation, but then I haven't been to Bangkok for 4 years. So I will start doing that after April,
Mm-hmm.
and just meet people,
Mm-hmm.
and ask them, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
so I can really feel what's going on, and I can really listen to their voices.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, for leader, for me, for whoever in the organization, especially in the top ranking, I think listening power is the most important thing.
Mm.
So in order to listen, you have to meet people,
Mm.
not Zoom.
Not Zoom, right? Exactly, not Zoom.
Mm.
And what about culture? How would you describe the best way to create a culture? Because you have a long tradition in the company, but every generation has a different situation, and as you say,
Sure.
things move in society. So, what things have you found work well to build a culture inside Obayashi?
Well, I think the culture is also different.
Mhm.
I mean, changing,
Mhm.
and it's a different time
Mhm.
to time. But first of all, we have to know what is our culture,
Mm.
and very very often we don't know, what is our culture, or
And why is that? Why do you think people don't know what the culture is?
well, people don't care about it.
I don't care about it. Okay.
I think so.
Right.
But it's a good point. It's very important to know their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
Not only talking about the company,
Yep.
but also like a Japanese culture.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Japanese people don't know about the Japanese culture.
Mm.
I found it when I was in U.S.
Yeah.
They know better than me. So that's why I started taking a tea ceremony,
Oh, right.
because
okay.
a tea ceremony is
Yeah.
a mixture of the various Japanese cultures.
Yes.
Yes, it's really essence, manner,
Yes.
food,
Yes.
and everything.
Yes.
So by knowing Japanese culture, you can really see other cultures.
Mm.
So I think it's same for the company. So
Mm.
we have to know our culture. So in order to let them know our culture, I think we have to send a message.
Mhm.
What is Obayashi culture?
Mm. If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Are you doing business with Japan? Do you really know how things work? Japan Business Mastery provides the answers. Do you have the right networks and know how to create them? Do you know how to get on the same wavelength with Japanese buyers? Do you know what being trustworthy looks like from the Japanese perspective? Japan Business Mastery is based on more than 30 years' experience in Japan and will become your go-to guide. Want to succeed in Japan? Buy Japan Business Mastery now. For example, a lot of companies use their vision, mission, values component as a way of driving the culture. But what I've found, though, with a lot of big companies, is that the vision statement is way too long. The mission statement way too long.
That's true.
And people can't remember it, it's like too much
Simpleness is
information.
important.
Yeah, and so even the values, often there's too many values, 7 values or something. So do you use vision, mission, values at all inside the company to try and integrate the culture and make people have a common view?
Yeah.
And how do you drive that so that they actually know it?
So actually, our culture is very well. It's not a culture. It's how do you say? Obayashi people really they work very hard, and they have very straight mind, and so our clients always are happy. Not always, but
Yeah.
very often I hear that they're happy. Fortunately, but it just they're sometimes they're too majime.
Right.
Yeah.
Too serious, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes they are not flexible.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to convince about people is, it's not it's a great thing, and to be serious and to be kind to the clients, but also you should listen to the clients' voices, what they want, what is their real needs. So we're not quite flexible enough to listen to their voices sometimes. So I think the culture, related to the culture matter, it's important to be very serious and very kind, but also you should be able to listen to clients' voices and flexible. But also at the same time, as a company, we have to make profit, and we have to make very qualified products. So the balance is another issue. So very important to take a balance, for each employee. Yeah.
And that comes back to the innovation part too, doesn't it? If you're innovative and creative, you're more likely to come up with a flexible solution rather than this is the rule or this is how it must be done. You're sort of stuck in that rut.
So, but it doesn't always mean each person should be balanced person. So as a company, we have to have some balance between each employee.
Right.
So we can accept, these people, but these people, we also can accept, other people. That's a company balance.
So overall, you get the balance across all the people.
So.
Okay, that's interesting.
Otherwise, it's going to be boring company and no creations.
No creations. Yeah. Well, also if you think about someone who's going to be sent to Japan from overseas to run an organization here, head office says, okay, you've got to go to Japan, take care of our Japan operation. Based on your experience, what would be some advice you'd give that person on how to run the operation successfully in Japan?
Okay, first of all, I think this is still same, but first of all, the most important thing is to see as many employees as possible.
Right.
Yeah. There's a communication. Communication is important. And secondly, maybe with the management side, among the management people, just eat and drink.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. If they don't drink, just have a lunch or dinner together. And secondly, sometimes better to be able to play golf.
Yeah.
Still, because you can spend a whole full one day.
Yes.
Together with those people.
Golf never worked for me though, because I was always out on the right somewhere in the trees looking for my ball. I never spent much time with anybody, but if you can play reasonable golf, you might have a conversation on the green.
But the problem of the golf game is that you can only communicate with 3 or 4 people. 3 or 4
people, that's true.
That's limited.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sometimes with important, employee or important management people or important clients.
It's also changed too, hasn't it, in Japan? Like younger people are less interested in spending their weekends playing golf, and they're less interested in going out for drinks after work, and that whole sort of idea has sort of changed a bit. Has it also changed inside your company as well?
Sure. I think there are more people saying just to leave me alone, but
Yeah.
but not only Japan but also in the U.S. or probably in Australia, more young people playing golf because of COVID.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Now golf industry is booming.
Booming. Yeah. Well, it's nice outside when you get outside.
Yeah. Well, I don't really mean the golf. Any sport or any hobby. It's nice to share the hobbies sometimes. Yeah. So spend once in a while some time with employee. Yeah.
What other areas do you think would be good for them to think about?
Well, it was a long time ago. This is about 1980, or a little after 1980. No, that was mid-80. I went to Silicon Valley and visited a company called Genentech. It's early Genentech, only with 100 employees or something, but various, doctoral researchers from other countries. And the founder, Mr. Swanson, said, this guy is from India, this guy is from China, these can get the Nobel Prize in the future. And in the Friday afternoon, they're just drinking and play ping pong.
Really? Yeah.
What's going on?
What's going on?
This is a family day, family afternoon. We learn from Japan. And yes, like even Obayashi, we used to have a sport day, and we just rent the big ground, and all family joined it. But now the company has 15,000 employees all over, and can't do that.
Can't do it anymore. Too big.
Too big. So, and also, we are so keen about the cost issue.
Yes.
And efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Playgrounds, and play golf, with family day. We can't do that. We don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, U.S. Entrepreneurs learning, those things from old Japan, and they do the very good communication with the company. Yeah. I think it's working very well. So there are still some ways to create the good communication with various employees. Yeah.
What about Japanese? Should they learn Japanese language?
Oh, better.
Better.
Of course. Japanese executives should learn English as well. This is another problem about Japanese business societies. Less and less people go abroad for studies. So on the other hand, Korean, Chinese, India, more and more students or young business people go abroad, U.S. and U.K., maybe Australia. So they can create and learn and build up the international network and international information, global information, and global sense. But on the other hand, Japanese business society has become more and more domestic. It's a serious problem.
Also, I think for some stage there in the past, many Japanese big corporations were sponsoring staff to go and get MBAs overseas.
Oh, yes.
They come back and then they quit because the company is still too inflexible, or rigid, or not able to accommodate them, and they go and work for a competitor or someone else. So there's a bit of a tricky balance there, isn't it, to actually have that international experience accepted inside the company.
That could have been some reason that the company stopped, sending their employee to abroad. But we just still, keep on sending some people every year.
Oh, okay. So you're still doing.
Especially try to send engineers to business school.
Right.
Yeah, or the other side.
All right.
Yeah. I studied civil engineering, construction engineering and management, although I studied economics in college in Japan. So studying abroad broadens, really their capacities. I think so. Yeah. Even though they move to other companies, later, I think this is still worthwhile. So they should just keep on doing that.
Yeah, and what about how do you create the environment to accept them though when they come back? Excuse me.
Best way.
Excuse me. Sorry. So how do you create the environment that can accept them when they come back though?
We used to discuss about that, but not we don't do that anymore because now we have many employees who studied abroad in the company, so doesn't make sense to talk about who went there. Or,
okay, so over time you've got a big core of
so
people
if
who've
you
got
just,
that experience.
Yeah, if you just keep on
Going.
Yeah. But even Obayashi have about 30% of business outside of Japan, and daily base we talk to our outside operations in US or in Asia, especially in America. We have invested in a couple companies. Their CEOs are all local, and their management people are local. So we have some Japanese Obayashi people in the company, but we always have to discuss with local management people. So it's necessary for our leaders to be able to communicate with global people.
And how would you define leadership? What would be your definition of leadership?
Well, again, it's probably depends on the company, depends on the country. But for example, in our industry, I think it's people who have a capability to make a good communication again, and also to see the future vision, and to show the vision to our employee, and also to other stakeholders like stockholders or shareholders or our clients. And also it's also very important for especially for us to have a capability to communicate with our clients and for other stakeholders.
If you were to give some advice as a chairman today to your younger self, when you're in your, say, 30s and 40s as a leader, if you were going to give your younger self some advice at that age from your experience now, what advice would you give your younger self as a leader? What should that younger Takeo actually have done when he's 30s and 40s that you know now, I wish I'd done that when I was younger? What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, that's a difficult question. You mean younger, but now, right?
Your experience today,
Okay.
You have your experience today. You built up a lifetime of experience.
Because
But you give your younger self some advice, as if you were able to do
advice
that.
is different depending on which era.
Oh,
But you're
okay.
talking about advice now, right?
Today, yeah.
Today,
Yeah.
yeah. But I,
Yeah.
or
Imagine-
I'm giving
imagine
advice
you were-
too young, yeah.
Imagine you were 30 or 40 again today,
Okay, sure.
and you had that experience you got now. You're going to give yourself some advice for today. What would it be?
Oh, that's very difficult. I have said many things already, but probably I, you know, I said important thing is to keep the balance
Mm-hmm.
and or to communicate well. But I wouldn't say that. Probably in one word.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Yeah? I think Okay, well, I would say set the target
Mm-hmm.
in certain period.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say don't think you have decades,
Yes.
but time is limited,
Mm-hmm.
and just do whatever you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but just achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people tend to forget about the time frame,
Mm-hmm.
but time is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, don't be regret, but
Mhm.
just do it in your target period.
Mm.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you very much,
No, my pleasure.
Rasan. It's great to catch up with you again, and thank you for sharing your ideas. And please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.